Welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage.
Are you still spending most of your time thinking like an attorney, even though you're also responsible for running a business?
That's where a lot of law firms get stuck, carrying owner responsibility while staying buried in casework.
The skills that make you a great lawyer aren't the same ones that build a law firm that grows, scales, and runs without constant oversight.
And until that shift happens, growth slows and stress stays high.
So, in this episode, we're breaking down the moment law firm owners have to move from attorney mode to owner mode. We'll discuss what actually changes and why this shift is essential for sustainable growth. Welcome to Lawyer Boss Life, the podcast where law firm owners learn to build profitable businesses and lead lives they love. I'm Ale Yajnik, founder of Law Firm Success Group. I've helped hundreds of attorneys scale their firm, gain freedom, and take back their time.
And I'm Chelsea Pagan, law firm owner, entrepreneur, and toddler mom. I know it's possible to have an excellent income, work 40 hours a week or less, and still take time off because that's what I do.
So when we talk about the business owner hat versus the attorney hat and those two mindsets and how different they are, it's important to realize that law firm ownership has put a lot of unfair things on lawyers. There are very few, maybe only two that I know of, professions where they're expecting the person who does the work, the attorney, to not only be great at doing the work, but also great at running a business. Those two skills are very, very different. And while some people may naturally do those things, for most of us, you've got to learn to be an attorney and you've got to learn to be a business owner. And if you don't know how to do both really well, your law firm isn't going to grow. And it's not something we talk about often enough, but we totally should. And I think this is where, Chelsea, you have a bit of an advantage over most attorneys because you have a business background and you actually love the business of law. So tell us about how, when you were starting your firm, how the business aspects were really appealing to you.
Yeah, there's something so interesting to me about professional service businesses anyway, because of the scalability of them. And so I was constantly trying to figure out how to maximize my ability to serve people within this practice area while also trying to figure out how to be the best lawyer I possibly could. And what that did is it required my business partner and I early on to really take the business side seriously. Before we worried too much about getting cases, we set up the business week after week before we opened. We were meeting every week. We were getting everything in order. We were creating the systems, getting the software, trying to put everything together so we could get started and get going to bring in the casework later. And over time, it just got more and more interesting. So I've been able to take not only my experience, I've been able to, take information I get from books, podcasts. I'm smart enough to know that I don't know everything. So we've hired a lot of really great people to support our business. We, of course, have business coaching that we regularly do, and we have advisors. We hire lawyers. We are constantly taking on more information so we can get to that point where we are running the business smoothly and still have time for the casework that the whole reason we got into this business was to be lawyers. So it's not easy, but it makes it so much more fun if you actually enjoy the part of running the business.
Yeah, and I love this topic, and we talk a lot about it. But for people that aren't as familiar with your firm, just give us a sense, kind of roughly what percentage of your week is spent on, as a business owner, and what percentage of your week is spent as an attorney. And then what do you actually do as a business owner?
Some days I don't know, but some days I'm sitting there and go, what did I do today? Realistically, it changes week to week, but I would say probably about 40% or more of my week is running a business. So it's pretty split. For example, Wednesdays are a big admin day for us because we bring everyone into the office. We have a lot of remote employees. And, we meet with our head of litigation. Emily and I do our partner meeting that week. We often have team meetings that day and any calls with, marketing or our lawyer or whatever it is. So that day is, sometimes I have an away message saying, "Hey, I'm in meetings back to back. If you need anything, please copy my staff." But we're really working to that 50% level, both Emily and I. And then we've delegated roles within our firm that she's responsible for and I'm responsible for. And then we meet to talk about the things we both need input on. Um, and some weeks I'm pulled into a lot more casework. It's just the way that it goes. But we have a schedule throughout the week that already plans that I need to spend 50% of my time running the business. Not to mention having time to research new things that we want to do for the business, content that we want to investigate in. And so it's not the way that I imagined it. I definitely, when we opened, we thought we would be doing more legal work and running the business was going to be a small fraction of it. It was just going to run itself at that point. And now we're in the place where I love running the business. I think it's so interesting, like I just said. And we are setting our firm up to do less and less of the casework so that we can continue to scale. And that's not for everyone. I know some people, you were talking about the fact that, law firm owners are required to run the businesses, but also do the work. And there's not a lot of, large companies that are run like that. But it's also some of it's also the requirement for being like a limited liability partnership. We can't just have all these people running the business that aren't lawyers. So we have limits. You can have like an executive director and somebody to kind of
Right. Right.
manage things, but still there's limits on what we can do. And so if we can get to a place where our casework really is selective for us and we have a great team that's handling it, then ideally our firm's going to be able to scale that much more if I'm able to spend 60-70% of my week running the business.
Yeah, exactly. When you're a small firm or a solo firm, it really is up to you as the attorney. Your billable hours drive the business. It's going
Mhm.
to drive the business's success. As your firm grows, it becomes less dependent upon you as a billing attorney and more dependent upon you as an enabler of the others in your firm to do the billing. And your ability to enable their success is what's going to drive the firm. And that's where, that business owner hat really kicks in.
Mhm.
Um, I understand not everyone wants to be a business owner, but you do, Chelsea. And so I want to hear from you. You said you really enjoy the business aspects of running a law firm. What is it about that you really enjoy?
Yeah, I just think that it's legal work is such a service-based industry, right? You think about anything that has customer service, people are looking for a good experience. To be honest, more than they're looking for a particular outcome. And I say that knowing that I've had outcomes that were less favorable for the client, but still had a really happy client who knew that they were in family court and they were, rolling the dice. And I've had, really great results and clients who just aren't happy. You can't, you're never going to be able to um, have a firm that caters to every single type of personality. But generally speaking, law firms is customer service. I have a background in working in restaurants and bars and very customer service driven industries where you figure out a lot about what makes people tick. What do they like about you? They want to feel guided. They want to have their hand held. Um, that is what I love creating. I love creating the experience for our clients, for our firm. I love,
Mm.
I was talking to my, even the littlest thing, I was talking to my team today because I called another law firm and you could tell it was like a kind of third party call service where they just kind of take your name and they say, okay, we'll let them know. And I was like, but I was supposed to call them at this time for the meeting. And now they're going to call me back. It was very bizarre. And I just let my team know. And I'm like, oh, these are the moments where I'm just so thankful that people get a certain type of experience with us. We're really creating kind of what we believe is a 5-star service industry, right? That's the first piece that gets me going because I just have that customer service background. And I think I mentioned it briefly. Professional service businesses really are scalable. And in my mind, I'm always trying to find how do we help more people still provide that excellent quality legal services and continue to build out without losing that customer service. So, are we going to start looking at another location? Can we branch out to another location in another area, to another county, right? Another state, all of these different things that as a professional services industry, if you can recreate your system over and over again, it gets easier to scale, right? Of course, more people, more moving parts. So,
That's what scaling is. That's
yes,
exactly what it is.
it's risky and
Yeah.
scary, but it's interesting, and we're with tech, AI, social media, we are in a very, very unique time to run a business. There's so much information out there, and I just find it very interesting to, try. I'm not afraid of failure, even if sometimes I'm sitting there going, "God, please work. I really want this to work. Please work. Please don't," you know? But you have to just try if you really trust yourself. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think running a business doesn't have to be so scary. It can feel heavy at moments, but it's that ability to be creative and take on that responsibility that I just find very fulfilling, and I'm always wanting to do better. At the same time, I always want to be a better lawyer because that's going to make me run a law firm even better so that I can make sure clients are having the experience they deserve.
Yeah. Yeah, attorneys are great problem solvers. And so when you're thinking about growing your firm, and we would define growth as, making more money, having more time off, having fantastic clients. If that's what you want to do for your firm, um, all of the questions you have about how you're going to do that
Mhm.
all get answered by thinking like a business owner. They're not going to get answered by thinking like an attorney. Thinking like an attorney allows you to do great work for your clients. But thinking like a business owner is how you can increase the impact of your work by working with more clients, better clients potentially, and clients that are going to reward you really, really well.
Mhm.
All those things you're wondering about, when is it time to hire? Who should I hire?
Mhm.
Uh, is my marketing working? How do I make more money in my firm? All of those questions are answered with that business owner role. And that's why it's important to think like a business owner when you're growing your firm. I would actually say, if you're not thinking like a business owner, your firm isn't going to grow. Even
Mhm.
something as simple as thinking about your rate increase is a business owner role kind of thing that you have to think through. So, all these really, really interesting ways of growing your business and solving the challenges in your firm all get answered by wearing that business owner hat. And that's why it's so important to spend some time as often as you can thinking like a business owner. I would say at least once a week. So, Chelsea, I know you've got routines for everything, and I know you have a routine for this one too. How do you kind of routinize that business owner role in your week?
Yeah, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. I calendar block, so I have specific time throughout the week that I'm working on certain things. So like Monday afternoons, I kind of have education and training kind of marked out. And some of that education and training can be legal based depending on what's going on in my week. But often it's business development. So sometimes I'm either listening to podcasts, reading books, doing some research on marketing or different AI. So it's structured. Like I said, Wednesdays we've got all of our meetings outlined. And then on Fridays, I have another time block where I'm reviewing our bank accounts, reviewing QuickBooks, all of our inputs, and just kind of seeing where everything lies. And so I just make it my routine. It is my job. While casework can vary week to week, sometimes you have 10 client calls, sometimes you have two, you have consults, you have hearings. That is going to look different every single week because you can't control a lot of that stuff. But your business, like the routine business decisions or time that you need to invest, should be on your calendar. You have to do it every week. And if you get it done in 5 minutes because there wasn't a lot going on, great. Now you have some free time. So I really, really try to be strict about those time slots because I need to be able to know what's going on at any time to be able to pull some of these numbers to best know how to make those next decisions for my business. Because what you were just saying is you have to be able to think like a business owner and not a lawyer. You have to think of I set time to review all of my trust account balances and bill like work in progress for cases and see, hey, is anyone negative? Does anyone have a really high bill? Do we need to be on top of this? Because the lawyer in me wants to just help people and deal with the bill later. They need help. There's things going on. We'll deal with the bill later. But the business owner in me knows that we have a business. Not everyone can afford a lawyer, and that's okay. We can't help everyone. And if they can't afford to stay on top of their bill and they don't have a payment plan that's manageable, then it may just be time for them to sub us out. And sometimes that sounds really harsh to clients, I think, but that's the business owner. You have to set certain boundaries or you're going to drain it. So another time slot on my calendar is review billing, right? Review accounts, check in with team. I have a team member that also is in charge of that. So sometimes I just need to be in there myself, even though that it's her task. As the business owner, you just got to make time.
Yeah. And if you're listening to Chelsea's schedule and you're wondering, oh my God, how does she have time to bill? Well, number one, she's super efficient and she really knows how to structure her time. But number two, that's where a team really comes in. And so as your firm grows, you're going to find that you're going to have to spend more time with the business owner role. And that's going to lead to having to hire, whether it's full time, part time, virtual, remote, on site, whatever it happens to be. You're going to need to build a team if you want to continue to grow your firm. That's going to give you the time to spend more time thinking like a business owner. And that is not an easy thing for a lot of attorneys to do, especially when it comes to hiring others to do the work that they are doing right now. So if you feel like you're overloaded, you really want to hire someone to do the work that you do that will free you up to spend more time marketing, for example, or just spend weekends with your family. That decision can be really, really challenging because now this is work that you're doing. You have expectations for this new person coming in. Chelsea, this is something that you've dealt with and successfully overcome. What were some of the shifts that you had to make in your thinking to say, okay, I can hire someone to do what I do, and here's how I'm going to do that?
Yeah, there's always that initial stage in bringing on somebody new where it's like, are they going to bill enough to justify the cost? How much time am I going to lose getting them up to speed? Um, and luckily, I've done this enough times to know that those things aren't really that big of an issue because if you bring on a new lawyer to do legal work, it doesn't take them that many billable hours to pay for their salary and everything else after that is profit. I know that now. I've done this 8 times now. At the same time, I am going to lose some time training them, right, from my billable hours. It is going to take some time investing in them, but it's short term. And short term losses for long term gains is what business scaling is all about. And yes, I understand that I've done it. And so if you haven't done it before, if you are a law firm owner that's thinking about, hey, how am I going to, how am I going to scale up? How am I going to get some of these things off my plate? I can tell you that knowing what's going on financially, knowing that you know what's going on in your caseload, bringing somebody in to shift either the legal work or some other work, depending on what's right for you. But we'll kind of talk about the legal aspect of it. Is you have to just try. And I really honestly don't believe that there's a perfect system for bringing that transition in. You have to try and tweak it for yourself, and you will get better over time. If it doesn't go smoothly, that's not the end of the world. You're going to learn a lot from that process. I learned a lot from hiring my first employees, and we do it very differently now. But every single time we've added a new employee to take off work off my plate or Emily's plate, or maybe one of our other attorneys' plate, it has always taken just a little bit of time to really get them going to the point where they are completely on their own. And it is always worth it.
Yeah. And I love that mindset that you and Emily have had really from when you started
Mhm.
really from when you started your firm, and that explains why you've, grown so quickly. Because for those of you that are thinking about growing your firm and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, there's all those problems out there, all these challenges in my firm and in the environment I have to overcome." If you take nothing else from this episode, take this away. The biggest challenge is not out there. It's in here. It's in you.
Yeah.
And coming up with that mindset of, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to think like a business owner is the one thing you need to do that will open the doors to solutions for your law firm growth. Um, that's where it all starts. So, for help stepping fully into the owner role and shifting your workload accordingly, you can book a strategy call on our website at lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. And if this episode sparks some new ideas, please like, subscribe, and share it with a lawyer who might need it. We love hearing how you're building your lawyer boss life.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.